Hey everyone, I've had a few people ask me how I make my compost tea for the garden. Since I was making some up today, I thought it'd be a good time to show you how I make it. I just use a couple of these Rubbermaid containers, just the cheapy ones, and we had some extras sitting around. And in each one I put 2 to 3 good shovelfuls of finished compost. It still has, some sticks and whatnot in it that you can screen out before you do this or do it after, because it just floats to the top and then you just skim it off, throw it back in your compost or whatever, and it just saves some time. It's faster that way. You can tell it's finished. It's light, it's fluffy, it smells good, and there's no worms in it. If this, or very few, there's a little guy, he's a little baby worm. Let's come out of there. Don't want to drown you. If this was compost, it still had a lot of food scraps and garden waste in it, it would be loaded with worms. Like, I have 2 piles. This one's pretty much done, and if you turn it over, you see a couple worms, nothing much. You turn the other one over, which has lots of food for them, and there's hundreds of worms in each shovelful, or it looks that way anyway. It's just, you can see it moving. That compost doesn't make good compost tea, but you end up with more of a sludge that way. You want to wait until it's done. If it smells good, it smells earthy, then it's going to be good for your plants. If it kind of smells moldy, or it's not done, it's more it's cooking, it's not going to be good for your plants. You're not going to get the great nutrients out of it. So you put your 2 to 3 shovelfuls of finished compost into your storage containers or other large bucket, and then just fill them up with water. Now, if I was using, say, something like a 5-gallon bucket, I'd probably use 1 good shovelful in there. And you'll get 2 batches of tea from each batch of dirt that you have in here. So once I make this tea, and I'll be able to use that, and then I'll be able to fill this up again and get a second batch from the dirt. And then when I'm done with that, I'll take the dirt, which is pretty much finished, although there's still nutrients in it, and I will spread that around my plants. Okay, my 1 bin is done filling up with water, and once it's done, just take a shovel or a hoe, and this is hard to do with one hand, but then you just want to stir the compost up really good. Think back to being a kid and making like mud pies and all those things that you used to create, right? Well, that's basically what you're doing now. Or as my kids would say, they're making cakes or soups and all that, and they've got a bucket of mud, and it doesn't look too good, but they have fun. So you just want to stir this up real good, and then you're going to leave this to sit for a day. So I will probably use this evening right now. So tomorrow evening this would be ready to use. And if you think about it during the day, anytime you come out past this stuff, just come out and give it a stir up, and a lot of the soil will settle back down to the bottom by the time you're ready to use it, and that's fine. And anything that's still sitting on the top, like I mentioned before, just take a old fish net or a steel strainer or whatever you want, just skim it off. That's only really if you're using a watering can or a sprayer to put it on, because you don't want these little bits to clog up your nozzles. Like if you're using it as a leaf spray, that would be a pain in the neck. If you're just going to be pouring it on with a bucket at the root level, you don't worry about it. You don't have to bother straining it. And this strength that I've made, you can use it as it is. You don't need to dilute it. I use this about once a week on my plants. Not all of my garden has got this, just because I haven't been keeping up with it as much as I like, but the ones that I have used it on work great. We had squash plants that were starting to die and just not doing well. And my rhubarb this spring, it wasn't doing very well, and I put lots of compost tea on it, and it just bounced back wonderfully. So if you want to make this stronger, you can. Like, you just add more shovelfuls of compost to this and make it stronger, but then you're going to have to dilute it when you go to use it. Or that's what I've heard anyway. I haven't actually myself made a stronger type. I just make it this way because it works so good for me. And I'll make a bucket up every day, and I'll work through my garden so that ideally by the end of the week or end of 2 weeks, everything has been watered with it. And then I just start back again at the other end. So I hope this has helped someone, And if you have another way of making compost tea or a favorite fertilizer in your garden, I'd love to hear about it too. Take care, everyone.